Yeah, it's the right call, just because the Pats need to have an answer from Tom so they can figure out what their plan is going to be for the quarterback position as they move through the offseason. I think they want to make sure that they have a chair when the music stops and the dust settles and all these quarterbacks have found new homes or are staying put. So I think it's absolutely the right decision, especially when you factor in the cap situation with New England and the contract that Tom Brady is on. If he's not extended, there's a $13.5 million cap charge that hits as soon as the league year starts as a result of the prorated portion of his bonus. So from a financial standpoint, in terms of providing maximum flexibility for Belichick, and from a personnel standpoint and having as many options on the table to replace Tom if he leaves, I think Bill Belichick is doing the right thing, but we're asking for an answer from Tom sooner as opposed to later.
No, I think it makes all the sense in the world. I mean, you want to get this taken care of. So even going into the draft, even though I don't expect them to make, that's going to change them next year. But, yeah, going into the draft, what do we have? Do we still have Brady? And as you said, free agency is huge because with that cap space, that takes away a good amount of your cap space with the $13.5 million. Do they want to go out and try to get an A.J. Green or a Hunter Henry and things like that, knowing if Brady's in the fold? Now, I do think he wants to know, too, what they may be able to bring in. So I said it last segment, I think they need to sit down with him and talk it out because I think he wants some sense of, are we going to improve the skill positions? Because I think that frustrated him last year. And at this stage of his career, he can't carry the mediocre talent at the skill positions like he has done for much of his career. So for them, for both sides, they need to get him locked up and improve the skill positions. And I think they'll have a shot in the AFC again next year.
We both agree that Belichick is brilliant, right? Like, he's a smart guy.
Yes.
Okay, now the one thing they haven't done is draft wide receivers well. They don't evaluate that position well. But if a guy is brilliant and on a week-by-week basis, they try and identify the game plan, the weakness in the other team, and adjust to it. And a season-by-season basis, like any franchise, they try and evaluate what they need and adjust to it. The idea that you can tell you don't have to tell Tom Brady we're going to go get wide receivers. Everybody in the league knows they need talent. Everybody in the league knows that they need a tight end.
They haven't always gotten the wide receivers.
Not for lack of trying. Right? They got Antonio Brown. They got Josh Gordon. Okay? Those guys were knuckleheads, and they couldn't keep them in the fold.
But for much of his career, he hasn't had top-flight receivers, and he's been able to make, lemonade out of lemons. Other than Randy Moss and Gronkowski. It's not like they always bring
Wes Welker was pretty amazing.
With Tom Brady. Not elsewhere.
Yes, but identifying
he made them what they were.
Yes, okay, but they went and got Chad Johnson. That didn't work because he couldn't line up right. Okay, couldn't memorize. He was a freelancer, and you can't freelance in that. Like, some of it is. But
you act like there's something wrong with them showing Brady the respect of sharing with him. We know you want to upgrade at these positions. This is who we're looking at.
I understand, but it's like a silly conversation. Of course we're going to go out and get wide receiver. We tried to trade for Mohamed Sanu, and that didn't work, right? They should have gotten Emmanuel Sanders. Instead, they got Mohamed Sanu. They made a bad decision with that trade. But the idea that he needs to hear, we're going to get, yeah, dude, we're going to go get better players. But we have to know that you're in. You're in and you're out.
But I think that's a huge part of his decision. I think he wants to go back there, but I think he wants to go back there, not with market value money, but solid money.
He wants to feel loved.
With better
He wants
players.
to feel respected. I agree. Look, if I'm them, I call up Minnesota, who's in cap hell, and say, Stephon Diggs doesn't like your system. What's it going to take to get Stephon Diggs? We try and make that deal. I agree with you, and I would love to see that. If I'm them, I'd love to see action happen instead of a conversation happen, so we can show them. The problem is that if you're the New England Patriots, do you make those moves when you don't know if you're going to have Tom Brady or if you're going to scrap this thing?
Well, if you don't make those moves, I'm pretty sure that Tom Brady would probably find himself walking out of the door just because he wouldn't feel like he has the requisite talent that it takes to compete at the highest levels. And let's keep in mind, Tom Brady is, 42 years old?
Yeah.
Going to be 43?
Will be 43. Yeah.
Exactly. So, I mean, at this stage, it's not about anything other than competing for championships. I know a lot of people talk about the TB12 brand and wanting to open up in other markets, but the thing that helps you advance the TB12 brand is winning at the highest levels. Right. And you said you wanted to play till you're 45 years old. Recognizing where you're at in your career and the help that you need, I think that's the important part of this conversation that people need to include. This is Tom Brady's first foray into free agency, and he does have leverage that he hasn't had prior in his career. So I think he's looking to exert that leverage over the New England Patriots more so than anybody else, because I think you said it, it's about love and respect. I think it's much more about the latter than it is the former. And for Tom Brady having some say in terms of what the plan will be moving forward, That's the big thing that he's probably looking to get out of this, because in looking at the best possible landing spots for Tom Brady, you're going to have a hard time finding a better organization and a better head coach to be supported by than what he has up in Foxborough.
I agree. It's also like at our age, right? Trying to learn a new language. I mean, it's really, really, really difficult. Think about trying to learn a new quarterback language. And I know everyone operates under this idea that, hey, wherever he goes, he's going to bring his offense. Like,
yes.
Okay, so that means you need to teach whomever. You're going to have to teach this to your offensive coordinator, to your offensive line coach, right? You're not working with the same people, and there's a learning curve for them, just like there's a learning curve for him. And again, if you think that that's easy, take all of the other wide receivers, just wide receivers who have failed when they've gotten there because they couldn't pick up the offense. Right. He has great expectations. Additionally, and here's one point, last year was the first year in memory that he missed OTAs, right? I don't know what I need to go to OTAs for. But if you go to a new team, you're going to OTAs because you got to be there to install the offense. Nobody else knows the offense, Tom. You got to come teach us how it's done. I think there's much more heavy lifting than most people realize. I'm sure Tom Brady realizes some of it, but you go to a new place and you got to teach everybody what you've been doing for 20 years and you kind of take it for granted. I think it's a lot harder. It's a lot more heavy lifting than a couple wide receivers seem to help you. And then, Chris, I couldn't agree with you more. Like, where's the better spot? The Raiders, they've been good once in the last 20 years. The Chargers, I'm a Charger fan. They got better wide receivers. They don't have a better offensive line.
Terrible.
And look, the Chargers have played 16 road games the past 3 years. That doesn't just change when you get Tom Brady. Oh, now I'm going to go get tickets. There'll be some fanfare, but not.
Well, it would help a lot.
It wouldn't hurt. It wouldn't hurt. Okay, but. LA fans, you got to win first, then all of a sudden they're your biggest fan. That's what changed with the Clippers. It wasn't ownership. It was they were winning. And he's not going to Tampa. He's not going to Indy. That's Peyton's team. He's not going to Tennessee. Tom Brady doesn't play in Nashville. He plays in LA. He plays in Vegas, or he plays in New England. I think the best place is at home. And even last year when they were bereft of wide receiving talent, they still won 12 games and had a bye and a home playoff game. Right. You don't get that anywhere else on a year when you're that bad offensively.
No, I'm with you. Look, as great as I think Tom Brady is, and as much as I still think he has something left when he's got receiver talent around him, I am not convinced, and I would kind of lean more toward him going somewhere else and having a great year. I just think, and when we saw Montana did it in Kansas City, he was a little younger, of course, but I just don't. I'm not convinced that Brady would go elsewhere in a new system and everything would go swimmingly and as great as people expect.
Well, you look at it on paper, I think the best decision for both parties would be a reunion, but you can't discount the human element of this. And you're talking about two of the best to ever do it at their respective positions, Bill Belichick, the head coach, and Tom Brady, the quarterback. Egos get involved, and you wonder if they can work all of that stuff out, if they can put all of that to the side and do what's in the best interest of one another, which is come back together. That's the part of this that we don't know.
Yeah, it's really, really hard. I would only say this, like, the idea that he has leverage, he does. But be very, very careful about using that leverage. Okay, you want to walk out that door? Fine. Right. Okay, fine. It is a different spot, and what they tell you when they recruit you is not always what you get when you get there. We've all played college sports. We know that to be a fact. We've all changed jobs in business. We know that to be a fact. You are being recruited, whereas at least you know the devil you know is many times better than the devil you do not.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.